watching TSN, the sports network. This fall, there's a celebration going on. For 5 years, TSN has provided Canadians with real television. And as we enter into our 6th year, the Sports Network will bring the real-life drama to even more Canadians.
9 years, the Blue Jay fans have waited for this. There's a drive to George Bell. He's got to come in. He's there. He's got it. The Blue Jays have won it. The Jays have won it. They've won the Eastern Division Championship.
Before I was injured, I was always the kind of person to, set goals and chase dreams. I challenged myself to almost anything.
And are you now firmly opposed to the use of steroids or any banned substances?
Yes, sir.
Bronze medalist Karen Percy of Canada.
It was a good career move for Wayne Gretzky. 2, it's a great move for my family. And 3, I'm coming into a situation where I think I can help a team and I think I can help the game.
Fresh legs would have made all the difference. He's onside. For a jogger is blue for Argentina. Can he do it? It's there! For a jogger has made it 3-2. Argentina are world champions again.
Everyone has a favorite sport, and TSN offers coverage of a wide range of professional and amateur sports. Baseball from the major leagues, including the best Blue Jays and Expo lineup on television. NHL thrills with the regular season, playoffs, and the All-Star Game. Football from the NFL, CFL, and CIAU. Basketball with the high-flying stars of the NBA. Tennis, including coverage of the Grand Slam circuit. Golf tournaments from the PGA, LPGA, and those swinging seniors. Auto racing from around the world. Special live events like international soccer and boxing. Plus unique sporting events that you just can't see anywhere else. Sports is a part of most Canadians' lives, and through a wide variety of events, TSN tries to entertain the fan as well as those who are just looking for a little fun.
This government is committed to act now because I believe that deficit reduction is the key to rebuilding confidence, and confidence is the key to growth and job creation. I can tell you that we are going to re-energize the private sector in this country because that's the way new jobs are created.
You're out! What the heck is going on at the Smith's house? They're discovering Canada's first all-sports channel. The cable TV channel that puts you right in the middle of the action. Wow! They're discovering TSN, the sports network. Every day, the sports network brings you a wide variety of professional and amateur sports. You'll see major games and events from across Canada and around the world, plus news and behind-the-scenes reports. With the Sports Network, you're right there, right on top of the action. Call your local cable company to bring the action into your home 24 hours a day at a price that makes TSN a winning value for every sports fan. For the variety of sports you want, the quality coverage you enjoy, turn to the Sports Network. Call today.
Back in 1982-83, our parent company, John Labatt Limited, had commissioned some research to review opportunities in the areas of communication and entertainment. That research was well-timed because in 1983, the CRTC requested or sought applications for specialty service networks in Canada. And we were poised, ready, with a good deal of information, and submitted an application for an all-sports service.
Championship tennis on TSN. Now you know what you're missing.
We had 4 months to develop a network, to build a broadcast center in Toronto, assemble staff, develop a program schedule, and launch the service September the 1st, 1984, and the rest is history. It's been a terrific experience.
Well, I suppose we all remember startup. I came in for my interview to be hired here about 2 weeks before the network went on the air. It was the 14th of August, 1984. Walked into the building at 10 o'clock in the morning, and the place was a shambles. I mean, there were no partitions, there was no lighting. The plasterers were hard at work. It was just a disaster area. It looked like a bomb had hit it. It didn't look like in 2 weeks this would be a brand new television network on the air and running 24 hours a day. And of course it was, because it had to be.
Welcome to this historic broadcast of TSN, the Sports Network. Hi, I'm John Wells. And for the next 60 minutes, we're going to tell you a little bit about ourselves, how we got started, and what you can expect to see in the exciting days and months ahead right here on TSN.
When we began this, we really didn't have much to follow. So we became the trendsetters, or at least established the trend. And looking back to those early days, it was something that I think we can be proud of. And I think that everybody who was here at the start really learned an awful lot about television and about what we had to do this. And I think everybody learned it very quickly.
TSN is proud to be the first Canadian network ever to bring you round-the-clock coverage of professional and amateur sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We'll be coming to you from all around the world via satellite from our studios here in Toronto.
1st of September '84 was a day that was probably one of the ultimate highlights of my entire broadcasting career. The build-up to that day, the rehearsals, the long hours that we spent here at the office that wasn't complete, trying to get ready to go on the air, and then the time when everybody at noon Eastern was in the boardroom at TSN, and Gordon Craig was there, and all the staff members were there, and we hoisted our glasses during the national anthem. And toasted the day that we were on the air, and the tears that filled everybody's eyes, the emotion of the moment is something that still gives me goosebumps when I think about it, and it's something I'll never forget.
Our philosophy at TSN is to bring you sports events both live and on tape and to keep you abreast of the latest up-to-date news from the world of sports. We'll also be taking you behind the scenes to give you all the inside information both on and off the field through a variety of magazine shows.
I can remember what I was thinking. I can remember going down to the washroom ahead of time and looking in the mirror. And what I had done was get my makeup about 4 hours early. I thought that's what you did in TV. I thought you had to be on the set 3 hours before. I didn't realize that you can be on the set about 45 seconds before. And I remember thinking, looking in the mirror, I just want to get the first one over with. Because until you have done your first television broadcast, you haven't experienced it. You haven't known what the other side is like. And I had never been on TV before TSN. So I remember thinking, I really want to get this first one over with, but I really look forward to it because it's something I have looked forward to for a long time. It's something I had trained for. And I remember all the anticipation, and I remember realizing that this is the only shot I get. You only get one first time on television, and I wanted the memories to be good.
I think it has complete coverage. It covers most sports.
And it's expanded to a lot of different sports that I like. Like, they have the summer specials on from the States, you know, like water skiing and surfing.
I like hockey and football, things like that.
I like the good coverage that they have of a lot of events that the other networks don't cover, like drag racing, for example.
There's many aspects of sport that isn't covered through your daily news and through your regular sports channels, and TSN is very comprehensive in that respect.
Television in general has been very instrumental in expanding the horizons of sport in Canada. And the conventional networks have scheduling constraints related to their need to serve many constituencies, not just the sports interests. And therefore TSN, as it's evolved, has played a very major role in the expansion of sports interests and the satisfying of that sports appetite within the Canadian viewing population. And it's an opportunity for us here at TSN to expand on the home team concept. Canadians want to watch their own athletes, their own teams in action, either at home or around the world. And the opportunity for us to fill in and complement what the conventional networks have been doing in the area of sports for many, many years has created quite a niche, quite an important niche for TSN in the Canadian broadcasting community.
Sports is such a big part of Canadian lifestyles, and not to have something that is cross-Canada is really a shame. And, you know, they did it in the United States, and it was very successful. I think it was good that we finally got to that point where we could have it in Canada. And I know from playing hockey, they've always had very interesting shows and certainly been very fair to us as athletes. And I think it's something that hopefully can continue and keep growing over the next 5, 10, 20 years.
TSN, fantastic. Ever since it came on air, I've been watching it ever since, and it's great to see the commitment they've made to the CFL, and the continued commitment will be there, I'm sure. I'm looking forward to having them broadcast many games that I can watch.
Well, we watch TSN because I feel personally that it covers all the sports. It covers rodeo and anything that's involved in sports in Canada. I know racing comes out of Toronto, and they're into golf now, and I think it's an interesting concept on TSN's part. They're trying to give Canadians a better view of what's happening in Canada, and I think that's important.
When the network got baseball, it gave it a lot of credibility. Before that, there had been shows of people who weren't really that interested. But once you got a lot of baseball, it got people watching it, and then it made people realize that a lot of those other shows were pretty good, too. The sportscasts themselves help a lot. You can find out the scores at almost any time of the day and night. And I think for people who are interested in sports, this is the 20th century of sports. You can now watch it all the time, and if you're interested in news, you can watch news all the time. We've brought television into the sporting world.
There's a drive to George Bell. He's got to come in. He's there. He's got it. The Blue Jays have won it. The Jays have won it. They've won the Eastern Division Championship.
Maximum excitement provided in the form of live events. TSN is everywhere with one purpose in mind, and that's to provide coverage that puts you closer than the front row. On the road and in our studio, TSN previews the game, covers the action, and reviews the event. Plus, you conduct a post-game interview with phone-in shows that follow some of our live events.
Can you explain the reason for Jimmy Keith's off-season start? Like, he hasn't been pitching well this year. And
we set out to acquire the best possible program schedule that we could. There was no limit. If we could acquire it, we would program it. And we found that audiences were appreciative, were very receptive to that amount of programming. I think in many instances, and I think of curling particularly, where we have heightened the awareness of the sport to the Canadian audiences simply by broadcasting so many curling matches. I think of soccer, where in Canada there was not a great deal of soccer programming available to a national audience. Today there is. It's on TSN, and we're proud of the soccer programming that we have. I think of other sports where Blue Jay baseball and Expo baseball, by doubling the number of games available to audiences, we've obviously heightened awareness and increased interest in those two teams and in that sport. And that's a role TSN has played.
Major League Baseball on TSN. Now you know what you're missing.
Strike to Felix. He really has been struggling lately at the plate, hasn't he, Buck?
And it just coincides with that shoulder problem he's been battling all year long. Lost a little bit of confidence, I think. He knows that he's not 100%.
He's only had 3 base hits in his last 9 games. A chopper is strange. He better hurry. A wild throw. Fernandez will score. He is held up. And Lemon fires it in. The Blue Jays lead it 1-0. I'll tell you what TSN has done for baseball. In 1984, when CTV was televising, we used to do, I think, something like 36 games on CTV. Now, all of a sudden, along came TSN. Sure, in 1984, it was really a test. We did 4 games in the month of September. But then along came 85, and we televised 40 games. Now, all of a sudden, people across Canada were getting a total of 80 Blue Jays games. And that's when I think this team really took off. Of course, 1985, the Blue Jays won their division and had a great series with Kansas City, only to lose it in 7 games. But that was the year that the Blue Jays caught everybody's fancy from coast to coast.
I think TSN has been a very important part of an overall introduction of baseball to Canada from coast to coast. There are a lot of things that played a big part in this. When you look at the 85 pennant team, when the entire nation of Canada became aware of baseball, everyone became aware that the Toronto Blue Jays were a great baseball team and they were a championship team, if only a division. But now, I think you can look back and say TSN played a very important role in spreading the word from the East Coast across the plains to the West Coast of BC that baseball is definitely something Canadians want to see.
Believe me, 5 years ago and beyond that, I was back here in 1980, sports wasn't a big deal. We might get the Buffalo station or something like that, but TSN, happy 5th, because you've made my last 5 years a lot greater and a lot more enjoyable.
The top 2 in turning double plays, shortstop, second baseman. San Diego Padres, Templeton, and Alomar. They've turned 117, but Uribe and Thompson are a close second with 115 double plays turned this season.
And that combination led the league last year, and I have to think it's a lot of...
Only major centers ever get sports franchises, hockey teams or baseball teams or football teams, yet there are millions and millions of fans across Canada, across North America, that live in places that are baseball fans and hockey fans. And for those people, professional sports is just a television show. They never get a chance to go to the stadium. So I think it's our responsibility to give them the feeling of what it's like to be there, to bring them the excitement, make them feel as though they're there. So even if they're 3,000 miles away from Olympic Stadium, when they go to work the next day and their pal asks them, did you see the game last night? They did see the game last night, and they felt what it was like to be there.
It's very interesting, some of the remarks and the observations from the fans that I get when I've traveled throughout Canada. In fact, I've made 2 trips out east in the Maritimes for TSN on tours, and I find that The people are very interested in the ball games. I found that the second time I went out there, they're even more enthusiastic about TSN and the ball games themselves. Very interested in what the Expos are doing, and they always mention that they watch, and they always say that somebody say hello to my partner Jim Houston, and they really enjoy him on hockey too. So from that standpoint, I know they're watching Jim all year. It's just me they get to enjoy during the summer.
Hi, this is Vin Scully, delighted to wish TSN a happy 5th anniversary.
This is Whitey Herzog with the St. Louis Cardinals. I know it's TSN's birthday, and I want to wish you a happy birthday myself.
Hola, mi nombre es Denny Martínez. Quiero desearle un feliz aniversario ya que cumplen 5 años a TSN.
Hi, I'm Tim Raines, wishing TSN a happy 5th anniversary.
Hello, everyone. I'm the famous San Diego Chicken, and as a native-born Canadian, I'd like to wish the greatest network in Canadian broadcasting, TSN, a happy 5th anniversary. Boys, to you guys, happy birthday! Woo! Yeah!
You build a house with wood and nails, but a home you build with love. Soon the Hansons will raise their children here. Put pictures of them up on these walls and see their oldest coming down these stairs, going on her first stage. That's why only one paint will ever be good enough for this home. Benjamin Moore. They wouldn't use anything less, not on something that means this much. Would you?
When something means so much, see your Benjamin Moore dealer.
This is a research laboratory. It tries and fails to make Castrol motor oil break down. It's the place where Castrol is torture tested to meet the requirements of those who punish motor oil the most. You. The everyday Canadian driver. Castrol XLR, the oil engineered for today's cars.
This has got to be Black's most exciting event ever. Black's Magic Sale. Now, I know what you're thinking. Who in their right mind believes in magic? Right now, just about everything in the store is on sale. I was kidding. Albums and frames, cameras and lenses, even film. Somebody hide the cat! Black says magic.
Fill your brush with the color of life. Mastercraft Premier, Canadian Tire's most durable paint, in hundreds of vivid colors, painstakingly copied from the original, only at Canadian Tire.
Hello, everyone. Vic Rauter at TSN Control with this special sports update for you. Sorry to tell you about the death of Baseball Commissioner Bart Giamatti. He suffered a massive heart attack this afternoon at his summer home in Martha's Vineyard. He was 51.
Many barriers that still have to be broken down, and it's going to happen because of people like you. Canada's #1.
Information. There's more to sports than the event. The intrigue of a blockbuster trade, the business of sports, the analysis of the play that made the difference. TSN offers a variety of news and weekly magazine programs which go behind the scenes to talk to your favorite star, as well as inform, explain, and entertain. And if you need to know the score, the TSN Sports Desk hits the air 5 times a day with up-to-the-minute results and news from the day's action.
Sports Desk is the source. If you want to find out what's happened on a given day, and better yet, what might happen on a given day, you turn to Sports Desk. Whether it be something in your local area, or whether it be something all the way across the nation or overseas. I think that our viewers have now come to have confidence in us. that if there is a story that they want told, we'll tell it to them in a better way than anybody else.
We've taken sports journalism, I think, a step ahead of what it used to be in this country. And by that, I mean, we don't show you the highlights from last night. We show you the highlights from tonight. We don't go back to yesterday and say, here's how they won. You already have seen how your home team has won. What we try to do is set up a little bit more of who they're playing the next day, why so-and-so is having such a great season. So we do a little bit more than rehashing the night before's highlights. That's old news to us.
I think one thing that impressed me when I joined TSN was the army of staff we've got working behind the scenes here. You know, a lot of people, when they tune into Sports Desk, they see myself or Mark Jones or Paul Romanuk, Jim Van Horn, but they don't realize all the work that goes into producing Sports Desk and all the people behind the scenes that do such a good job. People like producers, directors, researchers, researching the stories which we put on the air, script assistants, stringers across the country. We've got reporters all the way from Vancouver all the way through to Newfoundland.
Teresa Herger, TSN, Calgary.
Ken Chilliback, TSN in Edmonton.
Ron Deacock, TSN, Winnipeg.
Michael Whalen, TSN from the Colisée in Quebec City.
In Halifax, Doug Huskelson, TSN.
Greg Wyatt, TSN, Marina Del Rey, California.
Covering the National Horse Show in New York City, I'm Ed Randall, TSN.
This is our final time with you on this Labatt's World Curling Report from here in beautiful Lausanne, Switzerland. And without hesitation, I think I can say, along with all our crew, that if you have a chance to visit this beautiful city, or in fact anywhere in Switzerland, don't miss it. It is absolutely gorgeous. But for us now, our work is finished, and we have a chance to take a break. Maybe we'll head off over there to the mountains for a little bit of skiing. So for all of us, we hope you've enjoyed our coverage of the 1988 Men's World Curling Championships. I'm Vic Rauter. Goodbye from Lausanne, Switzerland.
I think what Sports Desk does that nobody else can do is cover the whole gamut. I mean, it really is a national sports network. We have such a wealth of material and resources to draw from, be it our reporters all across the country, be it all the different wire services and newspapers and sources of information we have available to us. I think we have the whole package. And I think the fact that we can go a full half hour, we have time to go into things, to go in depth, something that the local guys just can't do because they don't have the luxury of time.
I watch TSN as often as possible. I get home from the ballpark as quickly as I can to catch the Sports Desk 11 o'clock edition, find out what's going on around the league, and also to see some of our highlights if we have any good ones to watch.
I think a lot of my friends and I know and relatives stay up late to watch the scores from all over the country, and it really gives us an in-depth view.
Well, I think in field reporting and in every field reporter, every sportscaster period, you have at least a little bit, at least that much of a frustrated athlete. I don't think there's one guy that doesn't like to hang around the clubhouse and get the feel that they're almost immersed in the story and involved in that particular game or event. Every one of us vicariously, I think, lives through a player on the field. And that in turn helps your enthusiasm in reporting a story. If you're not involved, you're not going to do a good job. And I think at TSN, we do a good job of being involved in our stories and getting across the real emotion of the event.
Did you understand then that blue tablets were steroids?
No, well, Charlie's my coach, and if Charlie gives me something to take, I'll take it, you know. That's what you're always supposed to be. That's how it's be.
I came to TSN about a year ago, and it was almost simultaneous with the Ben Johnson steroid scandal, probably one of the biggest news stories, if not one of the biggest sports stories in Canadian history. And it was really a mixed feeling for me because it was exciting and it was really tragic. It was tragic because here was a fallen hero, a fallen Canadian hero. We're all excited, we're all behind him, and all of a sudden we find out that it's all taken away from him. But it was exciting as a reporter from a broadcasting standpoint because suddenly I was in the middle of one of the biggest stories of all time. And then the way we covered it at TSN was exciting as well. We had Michael Landsberg here on the desk all day live, keeping the viewers informed during the breaks, during the testimony. I was lucky enough to be in the actual hearing room to hear all of the testimony from the athletes, and then finally Ben Johnson's confession, to be there on the day when Ben Johnson actually came forward and said what actually happened. And we at TSN, we were there from the start to finish, and it's exciting to know that the priority was given to such a big event, and that we were giving it all our time and all our effort to be a part of the TSN team through that experience is something that I'll never forget in my entire journalism career.
I'm John Ziegler, President of the National Hockey League. To all our good friends at TSN, happy birthday. A very successful 5 years, and here's wishing many more.
Hello, I'm Jackie Stewart. Happy birthday to TSN. It's a great day for motor racing.
TSN, amidst all of our hoopla and our Stanley Cup and all the proceedings we're enjoying out here with the Calgary Flames, we want to take time to wish you and TSN a happy, happy 5th birthday and welcome to our sporting world, TSN. We love you.
Oh, man, I ain't singing with this one. Okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, TSN. Happy birthday, TSN. That's it. I'm done. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till you're gonna need somebody to lean on.
Chevy and GMC, the trucks more people lean on.
This is a change, this is new. Howard Johnson, can this be you? This is Howard Johnson today. This is Howard Johnson today. This is Howard Johnson today. Changing in so many colorful, comfortable, welcoming ways. This is Howard Johnson today. This is Howard Johnson today.
Now, when you pull into an Esso station, you're going to get something new. Something with improved cleaning power. Something that is designed for better performance. A premium gasoline. A premium gasoline that can help deliver peak performance in cars that demand more than regular. Announcing the launch of new Esso Supreme gasoline.
She gave up dolls for a heavy wooden racket. She gave up dating for nights of solitary practice. She's given up enough. And now, it's her turn to play.
Prime Minister, this is the free trade agreement between Canada and the United States, and it's going to be hard to tear up.
You're watching TSN, the sports network. Joining me is John Wells to call the fight. John, fight number 5 for Sean O'Sullivan. Another step along the road, hopefully, to stardom.
Well, it certainly is one more step. And I noticed that as we look back through Sean O'Sullivan's previous 4 fights,
Well, but maybe stumbled around a little bit in the first half, and they're going to get their act together.
Waterloo's got to score some points, and this year, the Guelph defense has played 10 quarters and given up only 9 points. Stay with us. The second half to come from Alumni.
Whether to take the hammer and try to score 2 points for the Skin or go without it and steal one, some of them thought the steal might be the easier way of picking up the dollar.
Well, possibly. It was a learning experience for all of us last night, I think, Vic. It's so much different from the normal
One of the things about sports broadcasting is that we don't live in a Hollywood syndrome. Canadian content isn't a dirty word. The Canadian viewing public want to see Canadian teams, Canadian athletes in action, both at home and abroad. And we take our role very seriously in providing that Canadian content, that Canadian vision on athletic life, very, very seriously.
Well, TSN's presentation of so many sports and so much programming has increased the awareness of those sports to our audiences. I take the example of curling.
with over 100 hours of curling programming, we obviously have heightened the awareness, increased the interest, and hopefully helped to popularize the game in Canada.
$14,000 on the line as Ed Wernock meets Al Hackner in the skins final. Back to the semifinals in Newmarket last evening. Hackner skinning Saskatchewan's Rick Folk. Hackner picking up $2,000 in the eighth end. He picks up 7 skins and 7.
I think people have always been aware of curling in this country, but certainly with our coverage on a daily basis, sometimes 2, sometimes 3 draws a day, curlers have become more household names. I think they are on a par now with some football players, some baseball players. I think Russ Howard, Eddie Wernick, Paul Savage, Eddie Lukowich, Linda Moore, those people have become household names. You mention them, people go, they're curlers, aren't they? Yeah, they are. I think we've helped raise the level, the identity of the sport so that people don't just take it for granted as something as a hit and a giggle and let's go have a beer. I think people understand the game, that it really is truly a sport. And what these people do takes an awful lot of talent.
This sounds crazy, but earlier in the year, I enjoy watching the curling. I really like to watch that. It's a very interesting game. Of course, down in Florida, where I'm from, they have a similar game. It's called shuffleboard. And they love to play that down there. But I really enjoy watching the game.
Troy Murray passing out in front of the pass was in his skates. That could have done it for Chicago. Gill lost the puck. Troy Murray shoots. He scores!
I, like most Canadians, grew up around hockey rinks and watching hockey. I think most of us spend 8 months of the year watching hockey and 4 months of the year anticipating the next season. And you can't truly be a sports network in Canada without professional hockey. And the best thing about the TSN schedule that we've been able to put together is that we don't show just one team. That we follow National Hockey League teams everywhere. We're able to take people to every building in the league and show all sorts of different matchups so that Canadians get a chance to see all of the Canadians at work and all of the teams in the National Hockey League. It's truly representative of the National Hockey League.
Our hockey coverage, I think, in the last year made a lot of strides, more so than it did in the first 2 years of our coverage. I think we've become a standard by which other networks measure themselves. I feel that Jim Houston is probably the best play-by-play man in the country. I'm a little biased because I work with him all the time, but I don't think anybody can get enthusiastic about as many games as he does in a season and carry it off.
The hockey playoffs were a highlight for me. I thought the job that Jim Houston did and the colormen was exceptional, particularly in the first round series, of course. They pretty well put you in the arena. You had an idea what was going on with all of the other series, something that the opposition really didn't do. TSN just kept you there, and of course, it was great. It was a highlight for me.
Very good job on the hockey. Yeah, it's nice to come home once in a while and watch somebody else grind it out instead of seeing yourself out there all the time grinding it out. But really enjoy the coverage we've got from TSN, and hopefully it will continue.
At the end of the night, if the fan who's watched a TSN hockey game or a baseball game that I've worked on can sit back and say that they really had a feel for what was going on in the stadium, that they felt the excitement, that they learned a little bit about the teams, but they really felt like they were there, then it's been a successful night. I think sometimes we get caught up in television being the most important thing. But the real important thing each night that I go to work is the game. What happens out in this stadium is a live event that people have bought tickets to see, and our job is to televise that event and take the live event into your home. It's not a television show that we invite people to the stadium to watch the taping of, and there's a distinct difference there. It's a live event that we're taking to your home.
I've been especially fond of it because my parents back home have been able to see an awful lot of games over the last few years, and that's kind of exciting because in a small town they don't get an awful lot of our games, especially being out west.
What about our coverage of hockey? How do we do?
Well, I don't know, the casters get on me a little bit too much, but other than that, they seem to do a pretty good job.
3rd and 10. And he throws it up. Underneath it. Touchdown! Don Narcisse. Burgess. Narcisse. No flags.
CFL football is close to my heart. From watching it in the stands with my mother when I was growing up and listening to my father do the games on a transistor radio, in the stands at Winnipeg Stadium and watching Kenny Plain and my old Winnipeg Blue Bomber heroes.
Well, a good friend of everybody in the Canadian Football League, one of the great sportcasters of all time in Canada, has joined us, Cactus Jack Wells. And I guess you're up here to just make sure young son John is doing a good job, aren't you?
I'm just doing a little checking, Leaf, old pal.
Now, how about changed a lot since Fritzy played, Father?
Well, I think old Fritz and that gang had look pretty good out there tonight. And I don't like to be, I told you so, sort of a guy.
We have drawn better audiences this year because the product has been exciting. We've been very fortunate for the games we've done. But I think one of the things that makes me happy about the CFL and covering it this year is the recognition that the players are watching us and enjoying it. They haven't been critical of our coverage. They have at times come up and said, why'd you say that about me? And I think that's kind of fun. We've been having a good time kidding along with the players after we've done a game and then met up with them a couple of weeks later.
They do a good job. It's a first-class affair all the way around, you know, right from pre-game interviews to during the game to following the game. The guys on it are quality guys.
You have to cover the stories of, is Steve Funk going to buy the BC Lions? Is the league going to take over the team? Will the Ottawa Regional Municipality give the $500,000 grant to keep the Rough Riders afloat for the rest of this season? Those questions have to be asked and have to be answered because it's part of the job. But I think you can also say, gosh, I went to Hamilton 2 weeks ago and I watched the Ticats beat the Saskatchewan Rough Riders 46-40, and it was a heck of a football game. And if that's boosterism, I plead guilty. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Hello, I'm Bill Baker with the Canadian Football League. On behalf of all the football fans in Canada, happy birthday, TSN.
I'm Bruce McNall, owner of the Los Angeles Kings, and happy birthday to TSN for their great 5th anniversary. And I wish them well for the future.
Happy birthday, TSN.
I'm Nick Irvin. 5 years ago, I was a charter subscriber to TSN. It was good then, it's better now. Best of luck, and congratulations on the first 5 years.
I watch TSN. I think they're doing a tremendous job, and I'd like to wish them a very happy birthday.
You're looking sharp. You're looking good. You've come so far, and we know how to make the most of who you are. Where the race is run, you're the champion. Gillette.
The Gillette Atra Plus system with the Lubra-Smooth strip for the best a man can get.
Here's McGuire coming along to the field.
Yeah, this could be the last play of the season for these guys, Bubba.
That's the truth, partner.
Third down and long, and here's the snap. Looks like play action, and what a block by Crawford. He just threw it unmarked and crushed him. McGuire's in the clear, and Bukowski made the big play, and what a play. Let's look at it again.
The trap bell going the wrong way, leveled Martin clear the lane here, and Bukowski and McGuire hooked up to make it to the one.
Yeah, first and goal, what should be an easy 6.
Are you, Bruce?
Let's talk about it.
Well, Bubba?
Heck of a play, partner.
So what's little dandruff?
Okay, imagine you're at the social event of the year, and your dream girl says hello, just as you do this. Her first impression? What a hunk. Only a few flakes.
Give me a break.
The breaks are you never get a second chance to make a first impression.
So?
Try this.
Head and Shoulders? But you don't have dandruff. Your hair looks great.
Bingo.
Head and Shoulders, because you never get a second chance to make a first impression.
For 1990, Mazda takes aim at small thinking. Introducing the all-new Mazda 323 Protégé. Protégé feels and drives like a much larger car, with more roominess than you'd expect in a small car. Smoother ride, finer quality finishing, and backed by the best warranty in the business. The new Mazda 323 Protégé. Enjoy thinking a little bigger.
His opponent isn't one man or a whole team. Success or failure rests entirely upon himself and a throbbing left arm.
think TSN has had many programming achievements in our first 5 years. When we went to air in 1984, September the 1st, we had a Blue Jay game and a Canada Cup hockey game. Pretty strong programming. But we've built from there. The following year, we obtained the Montreal Expos rights and added one more big property to our program schedule. We went on from there to the Canadian Football League, a major accomplishment for us. We televised the first Canadian Soccer League game. And then the NHL contract had to be a major milestone for us to pass. Receiving the rights to do 40 NHL games in Canada made us truly the sports network. But perhaps the crowning achievement might have been, probably was, the acquisition of the 1988 Calgary Winter Games, the Olympic Games on TSN. We contributed 115 hours to the existing time that CTV was programming to Canadian audiences. We doubled the amount of viewing that Canadian audiences were able to have of the Calgary Games. A very big highlight.
21 minutes after the hour, our special cameras on Calgary focused in on the games of the 15th Winter Olympics, and Rory Campbell is in charge of our #1 camera once again on Olympic Daybreak. It is day 12, a Wednesday morning. Good morning once more. Canada Olympic Park is the site of two beautiful new ski jumping towers, the 70 and 90 meters, but
it was the first time that cable networks had ever been a part of the Olympic broadcasting community. And it was a first for TSN, and one that our broadcast team in Calgary carried out extremely well.
Finland's Matti Nuukkonen is definitely the man to beat. He won.
So, Bill, we had to wait a couple days for this one because of the gusting winds, but once it got going, what a competition.
You bet. Lloyd Langlois came back from a bit of...
John, I think it's fair to say that this first event of men's speed skating, the 500 meters, is really a wide-open race.
What a great day for Karen Percy. 1/100th of a second away from a silver medal.
I think she skied a terrific race. She took a lot of chances. She really went for it.
What does it feel like now, a couple of hours after winning?
I don't know if it's hit me yet.
I think we really did come alive as a network with lots of energy, and I think it was displayed very well in Calgary. We didn't provide live coverage to Canadians of Brian Orser or the Canadian hockey team or Liz Manley, but we certainly got people ready to watch those games. And I think we can pride ourselves in the fact that we interviewed virtually all of the Canadian stars. We talked to every Canadian medal winner for certain, but we talked to a lot of other Canadians who had just made the teams and were happy to be there for their Olympic experience. I think the pride that we can have from covering the Olympics in Calgary, from being there, from doing a morning show that's reworked the evening's activities and presented them in shorter and highlight form and let Canadians relive Elizabeth Manley's silver medal with breakfast in the morning. I think we can be proud of that, but I think we'd be proudest of being there and talking to 80% of the Canadian athletes. I think just about every member of the Canadian team made an appearance on television. I think we talked to most of them, whether it was in studio in the morning over breakfast or in the wrap-up show in the afternoon, or we talked to them right after they'd finished 21st or 22nd in their event.
That entire 10-day period in Calgary, for me, covering the Winter Olympics, was something that I'll never forget. To go back to Calgary, because I worked there for 4 years, and to be a part of those games was very special, because I was there when the bid was originally made, I was there when it was accepted, and I was there for a lot of the times that the facilities were being made. To see the city come off looking as good as it did was spectacular, and I think Calgary really showed that it was a great city, and I think TSN really showed the broadcast world that we could take something like the Olympics and do a good job.
We're here at the new Disney MGM Studios theme park in Florida for the premiere of the new Chevy Lumina. The Lumina sedan has the most passenger room in its class. The Lumina Coupe sets the standard for personal sports coupes. And the all-new Lumina all-purpose vehicle with optional seating for 7, no matter what the size. Introducing the family Lumina from Chevrolet. Chevy Lumina, official car of the Disney MGM Studios theme park.
See you real soon.
Some people will buy any old gasoline. Others expect more. So they go the extra mile to Texaco for the clean gasoline and competitively priced products. As well, we give you special bonuses year-round that stretch your dollar even further. Expect more from Texaco.
In high school, he showed promise. In college, he showed leadership. In his professional debut, he showed he was only human.
Oh, Van Tiegelen, it was a mistake by Zavarov initially. Van Tiegelen's got support here from Arnold Muren. Van Basten's on the far side of the penalty area now to volley it. Oh, I say, what a goal! That's a beauty!
Well, as far as I'm concerned, working at TSN is being like a kid working in a candy store. I love the game of soccer. I get the chance to see soccer from all over the world, get the chance to put it on air and explain it to people and try and make it entertaining. And as far as I'm concerned, TSN stands for the Soccer Network.
And the whistle from Mr. Aerosmith, and the Vancouver 86ers will celebrate the final game for Bobby Lenduzi as the 1988 CSL champion.
Well, we've been privileged enough to be able to show the European Cup, the Cup Winners' Cup. We've shown World Cup qualifying, the English FA Cup final, the Libertadores Cup, the Super Cup, the Scottish Cup final, and we also show the Canadian Soccer League every Sunday. So I think that our coverage of soccer virtually encompasses the whole world, and we do pay a lot of attention to the game right here in Canada.
As far as soccer is concerned, and from a selfish point of view, we are now in a position come September where we're going to have a lot more people viewing the CSL because of TSN. And I think the product on the field over the course of the 3 years of the CSL has improved, as has the coverage of soccer.
The soccer coverage has been excellent because from a credibility standpoint we need the TV, but more importantly the games that they've been covering have been exciting games. I don't think I've watched any game that hasn't been an exciting game, even for non-soccer fans. So I think that credibility for soccer has been really enhanced by the TV. I think their coverage has been excellent, and I think this Soccer Sunday has been a fabulous thing. Of course, Graham Leggett, and this is seriously, I've watched soccer around the world. His program on a Saturday is by far the best program I've seen.
We go to a Brian boys.
315? 15.
I've known Graham Leggett for a couple of years now, and of course I've been watching him since I came over here in the beginning and whatnot. And the tremendous help that TSN, the assistance it's tried to give soccer in North America has been, you know, very commendable. Unfortunately, as we know, like soccer's always had a real problem trying to latch on here in some kind of national form, but it's certainly not for the lack of trying.
I think I can parallel the CSL to TSN. So many people thought 3 years ago that the CSL will never last, and we're getting to the stage now where we're starting to establish some credibility. And TSN, when it first started, I'm sure there were people within the station that weren't pleased with the way things were going on. But I think what's happened at TSN
is they've worked at it, and they now have a reputation for being top quality, producing top quality entertainment, sports entertainment, and it can only get better, because I think they now have established, TSN has established a base of support, and the fact that in September it's available to a lot more people can only benefit them.
We can always improve. We will look to enhancing our schedules in various sports. Audience demands, audience expectations, we will try to accommodate. If there is the example of soccer, for instance, if there is more soccer available and an audience is interested in it, we will try to deliver that to the audience. But it's very difficult to say how much more we are going to have, because virtually we have some of everything right now. We will try to improve our presentation of it. We will try to acquire more interesting properties, but we will try to acquire in the final analysis what audiences want and what our advertisers want.
The TSN success story has now expanded to include several new and exciting ventures. TSN Sports Radio delivers syndicated updates of scores and news in markets all across Canada.
The latest TSN Angus Reid poll has revealed that 74...
Dome Productions is the latest in live and post-production facilities, all situated in Toronto's fabulous Sky Dome. And in Montreal, a sister network, Canada's first all-French sports service, RDS, Le Réseau des Sports.
Bonjour, Toronto. My name is Chantal Maccabé. I am the host here at Le Réseau des Sports. I have the privilege today, on your 5th anniversary, to introduce the president of Le Réseau des Sports in Montreal, Mr. Gérald Janto.
Merci, Chantal. Happy birthday, TSN. On this, our very first day on the air, it gives me great pleasure to thank each and every one at TSN who helped us get to air. Without your help, it would have been impossible. Having worked closely with many of you these past few months, I understand perhaps better than most why TSN has been so successful in such a short time. Your talent and your professionalism is outstanding. That's why I'm confident about the future of the sports network, and with your continued support, the future of Le Réseau des Sports. Once again, happy 5th anniversary, TSN.
And looking forward to work with you guys. Now back to Toronto.
Thank you very much, Chantal and Mr. Janito, and congratulations on your launch in Montreal today. Our 5th anniversary celebration begins here at TSN Toronto. It hardly seems like 5 years.
Oh, yeah, that's a bon chance, RDS. We wish you all the very best, and we thank you as well, the viewers, for being with us the first 5 years, and hopefully 5 and 10, 15 more. It's going to be great as we move to basic cable now.
Good luck to RDS, and stay with us at TSN as we continue our celebrations and celebrate a very happy 5 years in Canadian television.